Welcome back to the Upper Tier Podcast, the football podcast we bring you each and every week on the Dynamo Podcast Network. Head over to YouTube, smash that subscribe and bell notification button. Audio versions show are available through Podbean, Spotify, Apple iTunes, wherever you pick up audio versions of your shows. And if you'd like to contact the show, you'll get us on Twitter at _upper_tier, or you'll get us on Facebook and Instagram, the Upper Tier. Also, let us know your comments down below in the video, and we'll thank you again for your ongoing support. Joining me today, Craig, rocking that lovely Barcelona shirt. Timing is everything. Timing is everything. But today we're going to bring you a quick show. We're going to do a quick preview of the Super Cup coming up tonight. Chelsea versus Villarreal. And when Villarreal is in the news, there's only one man to bring on the show, Craig, the man who supported them all last season through the Europa League. Absolutely. Let's get the housekeeping out of the way anyway. Kicks off 8 p.m. tonight, Windsor Park, Belfast. Strange location for the Super Cup.
That's like, you know, I remember a time when the Europa League final, Porto and Braga were in the Aviva. I was like, what's that about? Like, two Portuguese teams end up in Ireland in the Aviva playing for a Super Cup final.
Yeah, so they're expecting 13,000 of an attendance. And of course, it's Tuchel versus Emery, isn't it?
The Northern Ireland Stadium, isn't it? Windsor Park.
Yeah, Windsor Park, yeah, up in Belfast, yeah. Quick run through predicted lineups. Well, I suppose before we go through the predicted lineups, the matchup Tuchel versus Emery.
That's a very tasty matchup. I think both do their homework very well on each team. You know, both are very tactically aware, very sound, and I think both will want to win. You know, I think they're both managers who both take every kind of thing seriously. I did say to you earlier on, you know, will Chelsea have one eye on the Premier League? But I think, as you rightfully said, Tuchel probably doesn't have that mentality. Do you know what I mean? And Emery, I'm sure, is the same. You know, both European champions in their own right. So they will both want to, you know, it's another trophy still at the end of the day. Look, it mightn't be one of the big ones, but it's still another nice, like, you're going into a league season with another trophy under your belt, can only be good for morale as well. I think it's a very interesting matchup, though, isn't it? Because very, you know, will it be a low scoring affair? Will it be kind of like, you know, who's going to make the first move, like a game of chess? You know, tactically, I think it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I listened to both managers' interviews yesterday, and they have a huge amount of respect for each other.
Great.
Tuchel was absolutely delighted that it's another European trophy at the start of the season. And Emery turned around and says he's absolutely going to love to try and win it because he's never won it before. So it's an interesting.
He's always came up against, like with Sevilla, he's always came up against like a superior, unfortunate Champions League side.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So let's go through predicted lineups. Chelsea. These are the latest predicted lineups. So Mendy in goals, of course. Zouma, Thiago Silva, Rudiger, and James at the back. Kante, Kovacic, Alonso in midfield with Havertz, Ziyech, and Werner up front. That's what they're calling the predicted lineup at the moment.
It's very powerful. I think that back line is absolute monstrous, as in size and in experience, and as in well drilled. I think Zouma has been a massive like part of that Tuchel kind of era. You know, same as Rudiger. You know, both of them kind of frozen out. He obviously knows Thiago Silva from his time as PSG. He trusts him. He's a leader. So there's a lot of big personality and a big presence in the back line. I think moving through into midfield, Alonso, I'm gonna guess, is playing the left side of the midfield.
I would have thought so, yeah.
Kante, you know, can't say enough good words about Kante. My God, but we probably never thought we would be saying this. Like, leaving Jorginho not being present, will it affect him? Which we never thought we would probably say. But credit to him, when he kind of got under the Tuchel regime, out of that kind of forward-thinking Sarri role, he really developed into like a stable mate, as did Kovacic actually as well. Very good Euros. Kovacic, I think, is an outstanding player. Very good on the ball. Gives a lot, attack and defence. Timo Werner up front, I think, is very interesting with Lukaku coming in. I can see him maybe playing a secondary striker role often.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure Lukaku being the big target man like the Drogba, you're going to be playing off him for knockdowns. You're going to be linking up with him. He'll hold the ball up for you, be running on, which might develop Timo's game very well as well. Instead of being the spearhead where he's kind of getting lost, he's coming up wide, he's offside, he's not really knowing what's coming or going.
Yeah.
Tonight, I think Tuchel will just say, go out, you're the striker tonight, go out and try and get between the lines. Try and stay on side, and I'm sure like Kovacic and that Alonso will be coming from the left. They'll try and release him in behind quick. But I think with Timo Werner, I'd say Tuchel is just going to say, look, it's no pressure, go out and do the business for me tonight. I don't see it as like, you better do well because Lukaku's coming in. I think he's going to integrate the two of them together, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, that's definitely being Ian's view anyway on the Chelsea.
Yeah, I completely
Chelsea
agree.
Roar, Ziyech, obviously very threatening, has had a great pre-season so far.
He reminds you a lot of like a Mahrez style. Very, very majestic on the ball, has an unbelievable long-range shot. Something like that could settle it tonight. It could be a special from Ziyech, it could be a very tight encounter, not one wanting to give too much away.
And then, of
it
course,
could come down to that.
We haven't even mentioned Kai Havertz,
who I also think is going to have, this could be a breakout season for him. He came into a new league under Frank, no disrespect to Frank, but the level of management wasn't really there for him at that age. Probably not, no disrespect to Frank, but Frank was young in his own right. Had COVID, didn't he?
Yeah.
Had an injury.
Yeah.
And then he's getting thrown into different positions. You're the false 9, you're the cam, you're the 10, you're playing, left of a 3. I think with a full camp, we've probably touched on it so many times, with Tuchel under a full camp, a full regime, will only benefit the likes of Havertz and Werner. As in, we're all going into the season together from the start. This is what I want, and this is what I want you to do on the pitch. Havertz, again, could be a game decider tonight. I think he's outstanding, and I think he's going to have a massive role to play in the season.
Well, I suppose based on what we've seen in the Euros, just play him in that role he plays in the German team, because he was unbelievable in the Euros.
You just don't really need to give him instruction, isn't it? It feels like he just knows, I know where to be, and just, I'll do that. That's fine.
Yeah,
like a free roll.
Yeah, he's like one of those lads, if you give him too much instruction, you might confuse him. Just let him do his thing.
Kind of just, are you all right to go today? Yeah, grand. He'll pick up pockets. He'll pick up space naturally. I think he's so gifted that you don't need to give him much instruction. He'll know where to kind of be. Edge of the box, coming into the box, dropping out of the box,
Yeah, let's run through Villarreal then.
Oh, gladly.
Excuse me.
Gladly.
Excuse me if I get my pronunciations wrong. But
yeah, there's a few dodgy ones in there.
Yeah, so we've got Asenio, Foyt, Albiol, Pau Torres, Pedraza, Trigueros, Capui, Manu Trigueros, Manu Marlanes, Alberto Moreno, Gerard, and Dia.
Couple of names you will be familiar with if I mention them to you that I left out, which is massive for Villarreal, knowing the setup and the spine of the team. First one I'll ring off is Dani Parejo. Absolutely going to be massive missing that midfield tonight. He has an injury. I think he's due back late August, I believe.
Yeah.
But his presence, his awareness, his style of play, he kind of sets the tempo. Nearly like a Jordan Henderson at Liverpool. He's on the front foot. He's throwing tackles in. He's getting everything kind of set up and leads from example. Etienne Capoue had a lovely kind of little partnership in the midfield with Trigueros also in there as well. Very comfortable. They play week in, week out together. They've been at Valencia, like previous La Liga team. They've worked with Emre the whole time. So that's a big miss. He's captain, I think, as well, Parejo, as in from a starting point. That's going to be a massive blow. The other blow, sadly, I think he got injured last season. I had very high hopes for him. Is Chukwueze, the Nigerian winger. He was absolutely immense, and he really kind of came to fruition against Arsenal before he got injured. He just knows one way. It's just direct. It's so satisfying to watch. He's very young, but I think with Emre over him as well, he's going to develop and learn and maybe get a big move. No disrespect to Villarreal. Gerard Moreno, a bit of an, you know how I feel about him, but a very indifferent Euros from other players. Came off the bench from behind Morata, which I didn't agree with because I thought Gerard Moreno had a fine season.
I don't think anyone agreed with it.
Yeah, fully understandable. From my point of view, I thought he should have led the line. When you're coming on in games and you're coming on in international football, how different is it from starting with the lads getting into the rhythm, the tempo? He was trying to get in the box for crosses. You didn't really get to see him, basically. I think he'll be delighted to be back into the lineup tonight and competitive football with the lads he knows week in, week out. Pedraza, left back, very good. And Pau Torres is going to be a serious talent. You know him yourself.
Yeah.
I will not be surprised if bids come in. I'm surprised Villarreal have held all this together. I'm surprised we haven't seen people really going out for these players. But to Emre's credit and to Emre's, like, you know, I'm sure satisfaction and delight that he can keep the main core and spine together maybe for another season. Pau Torres is very, very good. I rate him very highly. Who is beside Gerard Moreno? It's not Paco, is it?
No. No,
is it Biat or? I think
we've got Moreno, Gerard, and Dia.
Dia. Yeah. I think Dia is not really one that I would really know, and he's not really, you know, functionally in the system. So it would have been probably Paco Allicer with Moreno. So that's going to be interesting. Looking at the two predicted lineups, the midfield is going to be massive, I think, for this game. And without Parejo in there, Capu and Trigueros will have to do a lot more. Kovacic, Kante, you know, you're getting workmen like in there, you're getting quality in there, you're getting now time in there as well. You know, will they dominate that kind of area? Possibly, you know, with the predicted lineups. How do you feel yourself on the predicted lineups?
Yeah, I suppose the target area for me looking at it would be, to me, the weak link would be Alonso, because he loves getting forward. So he leaves that space in behind. Left. Yeah, so he leaves that space in behind that they may be able to capitalise on. You know, that's the only thing that sticks out to me, moment. And again, these are only predicted lineups; it could be different, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at Moreno, you know what I mean, and he's going to be up against there. I mean, I suppose Zuma is another one. I mean, he's a decent player. He does a real good job in there, but he has got an eye on the exit door. I mean, he is looking at West Ham, and I think Arsenal may take a look at him as well. And I know Sevilla wanted to do some business with him as well, you know. So I'm just wondering, will he be? You know, the thing with Kurt Zuma at times is sometimes he's just not focused on the now, and that's where he tends to make mistakes. And I think
I think
if he's thinking at the moment is he's thinking of maybe going out the door. And I haven't said that might go the other way, and he could have a man of the match performance because he might be putting himself in the shop window, you know.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting pick from Tuchel if this is the starting lineup, you know. But that's the areas I see where Villarreal might be able to get at them. Alonso bombing forward, leaving that space in behind. And Kurt Zuma at the back. Obviously, Thiago Silva's outstanding. Rudiger, unbelievable, what a player. And, of course, Reece James. And, again, with Reece James as well, I mean, Reece is a player as well who likes to get forward as well, you know what I mean? So they might afford Villarreal that little bit of space in behind there, you know. But, again, it'd be a big ask for Villarreal, I think, tonight to beat Chelsea.
I agree.
I think there's a lot of very intriguing sort of matchups there. But I think the quality of Chelsea there, I think Villarreal might hold out for a while with a hope of maybe.
They'll have to get through the first 20 minutes. They'll have to navigate that.
Yeah.
I'm very concerned about, you know, Pau Torres, Raul Albiol. They're not the fastest. They don't have. Albiol is at the end of his kind of tenure towards that, and Pau Torres is more, you know, reads the play and kind of stays back with him.
Yeah.
Will Chelsea be able to get in behind? This is what my concern would be. Werner kind of breaking the pace, Havertz overlapping, things like that.
I mentioned it to Ian the other night as well on the Chelsea Raw podcast that we do, and I was saying to him as well, it's an interesting timing to have this trophy.
Very strange
in your week where you're about to embark on your league.
And,
you know, so will players be thinking like, let's go out here. This is an exhibition. If we win it, brilliant. But if we don't win it, it's not the end of the world. What I said to Ian last night, it's basically the European version of the Community Shield, really.
Basically, is
when you think about it.
And like you look at Pep's lineup, you know.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking as well with Tuchel, will he be overcautious as well? I mean, the last thing he wants is, it'd be great to go out and win a Super Cup, but what if the likes of Werner or Havertz or Ziyech were to get injured? You know, and then you're staring into your league campaign.
Whereas Emre doesn't have that kind of worry as La Liga starts a bit later. Yeah. You know, that kind of way.
Yeah, so that's the only thing. They're the only things I would think of. In terms of pre-season friendlies, let's look at their form. Chelsea obviously have won every game bar one they drew against Tottenham, which was a kind of a weird game as well because they were in total control of the game.
That was just recent there, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was their last game, and they took off. That was on the 4th of August. But they were in total control of the game, absolutely butchering Tottenham. And then they took off. They brought on a load of kids, and then Tottenham got back into the game, basically. You know, so it doesn't really tell the tale.
Yeah.
But they beat Arsenal, they beat Bournemouth, and they beat Peterborough. So they've had a fairly consistent pre-season, even though like it's like the quality Peterborough, Bournemouth and stuff like that. But obviously Arsenal in there as well.
It seemed to gradually build up though, didn't it? The quality, which is it's a very good tell of pre-season kind of set up. It kind of went from the lower league to kind of like, you know, stepping up in the quality.
Yeah, I mean the things that you look at there, like the 2-1 win against Arsenal, you know, wouldn't really flatter me, you know, because we know the problems that Arsenal are having at the moment, you know. And then of course the draw with Tottenham, as I said, it was the youth coming on in the second half really that just gave them the opportunity to get that, you know. In terms of Villarreal, they lost to Valencia, drew with Lyon, drew with Levante, lost to Marseille, lost to Leicester, and drew with Leeds.
They got pumped by Leicester.
Yeah. Well, it finished 3-2. So I know that probably doesn't tell the tale of the game.
Fofana got a leg break in that game, which you know, thoughts are with him. I hope he gets back maybe next year. I'd say it's going to be 2022, but you know, you don't ever like to see that in the pre-season when the player's trying to get fitness.
And it was nasty as well.
It was very bad. Nasty. It was bad. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they've showed some reasonable form because you look at Lyon. I would imagine the likes of Lyon, Leicester and Leeds, and probably to an extent maybe Marseille. I mean, they've played, in terms of comparing them to Chelsea, they've had a better level of quality throughout their pre-season, even though they've lost.
It gets them, you know, you're playing a super team in terms of Chelsea. You can't be going in, no disrespect, playing the Segunda, the second league in La Liga. You can't be going in playing Mickey Mouse teams and then, right, we have Chelsea on Wednesday. You know, you have to have some level of, you know, competition and keep that in your mind that it's a quality team over and over, and then into Chelsea, you know.
Yeah, and then I suppose, I mean, to score 2 against Leicester and to score 2 against Leeds, and they scored 2 against Lyon and 2 against Valencia. So there is goals there. They are capable of scoring on their day, because they'd be decent quality opposition, you know. In terms of the overall game, what you thinking? How do you think it's going to play out? And give us a prediction.
Jesus Christ. Like, it's not the same as before, and this is no disrespect to Manchester United. This is a totally different ball game here. Like, it's a totally different setup. It's a totally different game. You have to remember the competition that I called, that I felt they would win it. They were going through stages. This is just one-off game. Chelsea frightened me as a Liverpool fan. As in, I mean, I don't even think about Manchester City. I think about Chelsea. That's how serious I rate them. And the manager. Tonight, I think this could be a very difficult night if things go bad early. I think they're going to have to ride a big storm, and it might be a lot of the game without possession, which they'll have to kind of just accept with the quality of Chelsea. I think they'll have to navigate the first 20 minutes and maybe even more. And it might, sadly, it kills me to say it, but I have to be realistic. It might be a counter or a lucky break, and they might have to capitalise on one chance and try and, you know, batten down the hatches. You know, I think Chelsea, whatever the lineup, it's so strong, the squad for Chelsea.
Yeah.
I think Chelsea will have a bit too much for them. I'm not going to rule them out, but I'm not going to come out and say I think Villarreal will do Chelsea. But you never say never. Like, you know, I'll make a case for them. Like, they might nick it 1-0. It might be a tight game and they might get a chance. But if Chelsea come out, you know, with Tuchel, the way that they set up and the way they control games, it could be a difficult game. It could be a difficult night it could be 2 or 3-0.
Yeah.
Or 3-1, I would say.
I said to Ian last night that I thought that it would be a tight game for a long period.
Yeah.
And that Villarreal would stay in the game. So say Chelsea might be 2-1 up, say, all the way to about the 70th minute. But I think from the 70th minute on, I think they'd have too much for Villarreal and they might have won.
They've a lot in reserve, Chelsea, as well. You know,
and then I think it might run out either 3-1 or 4-1 or something like that. And I think the score line wouldn't be a reflection of the game because Villarreal would have been in the game right up
I
until
can see it being
75th minute.
Like a totally different game towards the last 15 from the first 20, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I could see a bit of a kind of like, a bit of a feel out from both. But I think if Chelsea get any foothold, it could be curtains, sadly. As much as I love Villarreal, I have to be realistic, In the Europa, we had a lot to go on, Emre's previous success. Their two-legged games away from home, they were doing very well, which you highlighted. They were keeping clean sheets away from home, which is amazing to do, and scoring goals in the process.
Yeah.
This game, Chelsea are starting their season the end of this week. If they're not ready tonight, that doesn't tell you something. Do you know that kind of way? Like,
absolutely.
I do hope Villarreal put up a good account of themselves and show why they got there, though. I really do, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, I think with Emery, you're going to get an honest workman-like sort of performance anyway. You know what I mean? I mean, the boys rarely let them down in terms of they'll give everything they can, but if there's levels in terms of quality and stuff like that, that's what tends to show.
I do worry though, as I highlighted, Parejo out. I think will be massive in there. Yeah. It might tell a lot. And
but then I suppose the flip side of that is if Jorginho's out as well.
Which is mad that we never thought we would say that.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. Definitely going to be an intriguing game, and I suppose for us as Liverpool fans and as neutrals,
I'm looking forward to it.
We just look forward to
I'm looking forward to it.
Because it is a spectacle, in fairness. And I know a lot of other fans from other, say, top 4 clubs will turn around and go, sure, it's nothing really.
No, like, I think as you highlighted as well, Tuchel v Emre is very interesting, as a neutral. It's very, I'm keen to kind of see how it plays out.
Absolutely, and remember, this could be a sign of things to come in the Champions League once the draw is made. So God knows what way this is going to be drawn out. Listen, pleasure having you on as always, especially when it's Villarreal. The knowledge within that team that you have is outstanding, and of course, I know you'd love Villarreal to do the business on Emery as well. La Liga for life. La Liga for life, says Craig. This has been the Upper Tier, your Super Cup preview with Craig. Head over to YouTube, Dynamo Podcast Network, and we will talk to you again real soon. Cheers, Craig.
Cheers, man.